Hello and welcome to The Take. I'm your host, Chesley McNeil. Each weekday, we're looking at stories, making headlines, and bringing experts from our community to give their take. Here's a look back at some of the top takes from this week and how those in the know are seeing those stories that impact you. Thousands of small business owners from across the country, including nearly 60 right here in Georgia, was in Washington, D.C. learning of new ways to get ahead and pushing for real seats at the table in Capitol Hill. Let's talk about some of the big takeaways with Chanel Darden, who is the founder of Moisture Love, one of the local businesses that took part in the summit. Chanel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chesley, for having me.
Absolutely. Talk to me about why it's, how important small businesses are in today's economy.
Oh man, small businesses are so important in today's economy because we hire locally, we keep the economy going, we provide so much support for our communities, and the things that we're doing, the problems that we're solving are changing people's lives every day.
What was it like to be in a room surrounded by more than 2,000 small business owners from across the country?
Oh my, it was electric. Like, it was so powerful. There was so much information. The networking is really the most phenomenal part. But we got to hear from some amazing speakers that have done great things. And the theme was be authentic, show up, share your voice.
Moisture Love. Tell us about that business and what it's all about.
Yes, so Moisture Love is a beauty brand designed to help women love and embrace their curly hair. I'm a Georgia Tech industrial and systems engineer, and I formulated it with a hydrolyr technology, which infuses moisture in your hair so it lasts for 3 or more days and it reactivates in a steamy shower. And now we are also provided at Grady. Grady buys our products for their patients so that women with curly hair, while they're receiving care, can have their hair taken care of as well.
You met directly with policymakers. Did you come away with a feeling that small businesses truly have a seat at the table now?
I really did. So I had a chance to meet with my staffer for my Congresswoman, Nikema Williams. And normally those meetings take 15 minutes. I've done this a few times, but this time he actually sat with us for almost an hour, genuinely asking questions, genuinely trying to understand what was going on. He shared resources with us. He gave us his contact information to follow up. All of my constituents that were there, we all felt like, wow, I think that we may have a chance at making some change.
Yeah. Is that the moment that stood out to you most, or was it some other moment that really resonated with you as a small business owner?
Well, Congresswoman Nikema Williams has taken over Congressman John Lewis's seat. So to be in his office, to see all of the old pictures there, to see the work that she's doing, learning about the committees that she's sitting on. I learned about a minority entrepreneur grant. Go to her website. I learned that as a constituent, we have more power than we think that we do, and they want our voice. They want to get our feedback when they're drafting bills, when they're marking them up, and they shared with us how we could do that. So I was really empowered and excited to have a seat at the table.
Yeah. How does what you heard in Washington connect with what you're seeing here at home when it comes to Georgia's small business community?
There is certainly a lot of confusion. There is certainly a lot of doubt. There is certainly a lot of uncertainty. But what I think I'm seeing and what is kind of cool to be a part of, it feels like everyone understands that we're in unprecedented times and that we all have a part to play. One of the things that were very consistent from the speakers were that you have to share your voice as a small business owner. It's your responsibility, especially if you're trying to hire other people and you're trying to solve a problem. So I walked away with a new sense of pride in the role that I get to have in being a small business in the Atlanta community, and my peers and the work that I'm doing, because we distribute personal care products to healthcare now. And so we're working on bringing equitable care to healthcare for people in special populations who may have been overlooked, and understanding that there are so many pieces that go in affecting that change. Now I have a plan forward.
Tell me about that plan. What did you learn that you're going to turn around now for your business?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One of them that might sound counterintuitive. We spoke so much about how to take care of yourself right now as a business owner in these times. So sleep well, eat well, laugh well, those things. Following up with Congresswoman Kim Williams' office to learn more about those bills, because she sits on a financial committee. And one of the things that I shared with her is that small businesses need real access to capital. I don't mean $500 grants or credit cards. We need working capital, lines of credit that we can draw down on that allow us to operate our business for 3 to 6 months. So knowing that there are committees that are working to change some of the rules, especially with the SBA, I plan on being up and in there, sharing my voice on how we can get that done. Because if you're in a situation like me where you're pivoting from B2C to B2B, and now you're working on contracts where you're paid 90 days later, but you have invoices that you can't certainly fund because of the way the funding system is structured, significant change must happen. Right. So if I got to be the one to do it, I'll do it.
It's one of the nation's fastest growing health crises. We're talking about type 2 diabetes, now affecting millions, with more people developing the condition at younger ages. While new research shows that some can bring their blood sugar back to healthy levels through diet and lifestyle changes, the broader picture remains alarming and costly. The CDC says more than 38 million Americans are living with diabetes, and roughly 90 to 95% of them have type 2. The annual cost of diabetes care in the U.S. has soared past $400 billion, factoring in medical expenses and lost productivity. That's a number which has doubled in the last 15 years. On top of all this, it's an estimate 1 in 5 people with diabetes don't even know they have it. Now, while those numbers paint a serious picture, not everyone agrees with that type 2 diabetes is a lifelong condition. That includes Dr. Jeffrey Hawkins. He is the founder of the Diabetes Reversal Group, which promotes a lifestyle and coaching program claiming to help patients reverse type 2 diabetes. Welcome to the show, Doc.
Hey, great to be here.
All right, walk us through what typically patients experience in your program.
Yeah, well, when type 2 comes in, they've already been diagnosed by their doctor. They've typically been a diabetic for 10 years or more. They're taking 5, 6, 7 medications. They feel horrible. They're afraid of kidney disease. Their energy's low. Their sex drive is low. And they're afraid that some really bad complication is going to happen. So they want to get off these meds as fast as they can. So in our program, we show them exactly what they can eat, what they can't eat, what nutritional supplements to take, what exercises to do, and then we provide coaching and training all the way through the program to hold them accountable and walk them through the whole process, because it is reversible.
As you stated, your mental, stability comes into question. You get this diagnosis. What's the first step that you take them through?
Yeah, the first step is learning what to eat, what not to eat.
Okay.
Because again, people, when they get diabetes, it's not some virus that they get. It's not some lightning bolt from the sky or genetic. It's because they've eaten the wrong foods for 20, 30, 40 years, weren't aware of it, and they have a very sedentary lifestyle, which has actually increased the last 20 years. So the stats you mentioned, it's getting worse and worse. I mean, the invention of these, with people are on their phones all the time and not outside playing anymore, et cetera. I mean, you go around some neighborhoods now, it's like a kid apocalypse. Like, where are the kids playing anymore on the street? They're all inside on video games, playing on their phones, and that kind of starts the process. That's why you're seeing such a higher rate of it the last 15 years, because of the sedentary lifestyle and a bad diet for decades.
Yeah. The CDC and American Diabetes Association use the term remission, not reversal. Why do you use such strong language? And how do you prevent that from misleading patients about what the possibilities are?
Yeah, so again, reversal doesn't mean cure. So when they say remission, it's the same word. It's really just semantics. So you are putting the diabetes into remission, meaning that you have normal blood sugar, taking no diabetic meds. That's remission. And now, of course, once they get to that stage, the remission or the reversal, they have to continue eating the right way for the rest of their life to keep it in that remission state or that dormant state. Otherwise, they'll come right back up again, because there is no cure for it, but you can reverse it or put it into remission. What
would you say the percentage is of your patients that maintain that healthy blood sugar level for after 1, 2, or maybe 3 years?
Yeah, that's a little bit harder, right? Because obviously people have to stick with it. It's like going to a gym with a personal trainer. You can get physically fit, but if you stop exercising, you kind of get out of shape again, right? So with us, it's about 50% right now. We're trying to do whatever we can to increase that number. But again, it is a lifelong change that people have to follow once they're done. And so we show them how they can reverse it, put it into remission, but then they have to continue doing that for the rest of their life, for sure.
Doc, I got to believe that's hard. That's hard to do. How do you convince them to do that? How do you convince them to follow your program to a T?
Yeah, well, the biggest reason why people join our program is because they're scared. They reach that breaking point where now they're getting neuropathy in their feet. They're afraid of getting an amputation. Or their doctor says, hey, you've got stage 4 kidney failure. You're going to be on dialysis pretty soon. Or they've had a heart attack or a stroke, or they're getting some blurred vision. They don't want to go blind. So something happens in them where they reach that breaking point where they're so scared they say, okay, I got to stop screwing around and change my life or I'm going to die. So that's the majority of the reasons why people do it, is because they have that fear of they don't want to die. And so they know they have to change their lifestyle at that stage.
What would you say to our viewers that are watching now? What about the true possibility when it comes to type 2 diabetes, and what separates real from science-based hope or the hype that you hear often?
Yeah, well, it is 100% reversible. We've been doing it for 16 years all over the world, so we know how to do this. It's not something new. We didn't invent that it's reversible. It's been reversible forever. But again, they have to join some kind of a program, whether ours or somebody else's, where they can walk them through the process, because there's a lot of misinformation out there on what's okay, what's not okay, should you take supplements, what kind of exercise, a lot of nonsense out there. So you just got to go somewhere they can show you, hey, this is real, and guarantee results, walk you through the process, and make sure that, hey, you do this, you will get better. But as you already know, there's a lot of people that don't want to do that. They don't want to change your lifestyle. So for those people, it's a good thing the medications are there, because they need those to survive.
Yeah, and in your program, they will finally get off of, you're trying to get them off that medication, right? And just live that lifestyle of exercise and eating right until
100%, right? Yeah. And while they go through it, as their blood sugar starts dropping, right, their doctor will gradually start weaning them off their medications until they're done with all of it. So their doctor's always in the loop on that. So there's nothing going on that's nefarious or anything. So our job is to kind of teach them what to do. The blood sugar starts coming down, doctor weans them off of it, and everybody's happy. So it's pretty exciting.
Across Metro Atlanta, the shutdown putting thousands of households at risk, delaying aid for food, housing, and health. And that's where United Way of Greater Atlanta's 211 service steps in to connect families to local help while Washington tries to work it all out. Every year, Metro Atlanta's 211 line fields more than 55,000 requests just for food help. The 211 network serves residents in 13 counties, including Cobb, DeKalb, Fulton, and Gwinnett. And to meet diverse needs from housing to utility assistance, 211 draws on a directory of more than 2,700 continuously updated programs and agencies. But right now, all of that is being pushed to its limit. With more on the United Way's mission during the shutdown, let's bring in Milton Little Jr., President and CEO of United Way of Greater Atlanta. Milton, it's great to have you this morning. We really appreciate you joining us. We'll just start with the state of 211 right now amid the shutdown. What kind of need are you seeing?
We're seeing tremendous needs, and thank you for having us on today. Every year we see needs, just like you described, requests for food, for rental assistance, for job assistance, all of those numbers just going through the roof. And now you've got added to it the federal workers who are laid off. We're seeing more than 10 calls a day just from federal workers, and I know that number is going to increase, sadly.
Yeah, 10 calls a day. What exactly are they asking for when they give 211 a call?
So they're asking for food. Where's a food pantry? They're asking for rental assistance or mortgage assistance. Those numbers are going up. We're seeing numbers go up in the category of job search assistance and job access. And so the things that we typically see, those numbers are just going up.
Tell us a little more about 211 for folks who aren't familiar. Who is going to be on the other end of that line if they give it a call? And what are the hours of operation?
So we've got highly trained people who answer the calls. One of them told me the other day that she's not heard the levels of desperation that she's hearing now. 211 handles more than 300,000 calls a year. And so for somebody to say they're hearing levels that they don't understand and haven't experienced before tells you just what's going on. So they're highly trained. And they walk people through some of their most desperate requests. Somebody calls up and says, my child hasn't eaten. Where can I go for help? Those are the kind of calls that they answer with compassion and allowing the caller to keep their dignity. It operates 24 hours a day because we've got technology, AI and chatbots that allow after hours callers to still get the help they have need, even if they don't get to talk to a call operator.
It's great tapping into AI to help these folks out when they need it most, even if it's in the middle of the night. You know, we often talk about safety nets. Do you see 211 as one of the last lines of defense when other systems start to break down?
You know, it's the last line of defense, but I also like to think of it as a resource for somebody who's trying to get ahead of a problem. You know, it's sometimes people don't call because they're feeling shame. I wish they'd reverse that and say, here's the best way for me to ensure the well-being of my family, and how can I do that proactively with one of the community's most important resources? That's the way we look at 211, and that's the way a lot of people respond to it.
So if you could speak directly to a federal worker right now, I know you said they're make up a majority of your calls right now. Correct me if I'm wrong, is it the majority or just a lot of them right now?
It's one of the highest rates of increase.
Thank you. Okay, so if you could speak to those federal workers or maybe a single parent waiting on a delayed benefit check right now, what would you say?
I know many of you have never had to call an agency for help. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to bring your family's needs to an organization that's in the business of helping. Well, let me tell you, 211 is here for you. You will call 211, a simple number. You'll be able to talk to a compassionate call operator, and that assistant will walk you through some of the most difficult choices you've ever had to make, but you'll find the help you'll need on the other end of that line.
Milton Little Jr. from the United Way, you guys are doing great work there, and please thank the call takers for us too. They're on the front lines helping folks out.
We will. Thanks for your kind wishes.
You know, when it gets this cold, you often think about what? Flu season. And while health experts say this year's wave should be moderate, they're urging all of us not to let our guard down. Joining us now is Dr. Jody Guest, professor of epidemiology at Emory University, to break down what we can expect and why getting that shot early still matters. Dr. Guest, great to be with you. So moderate, is that what we're hearing this year? What does that mean for us?
Sure. So last year's flu season was terrible. It was really an awful one. A lot of deaths were associated with flu. And so the prediction is that this year's will be moderate. We tend to not have really, really hard flu seasons back to back.
What strains are you seeing circulating right now, and how well does this year's vaccine appear to match them?
You know, we're still not clear because the flu season is just kicking off, but we have most of the flu strains are what we had last year as well, H1N1. But I do want to be very clear that that does not mean your flu shot from last year protects you this year because of waning immunity. So you need to make sure you get a shot again this year.
What's your biggest concern as we head into the heart of flu season, and anything giving you the most optimism at this time? I know it's early.
Yeah, my biggest concern is the lack of interest in people getting a flu shot. Last year, our children had less than 50% of them were vaccinated, and that was down 20% from the 2019 season. And so that is a real concern. 280 kids died last year in the United States from the flu. So we need to take this very, very seriously.
Is that just because, do you attribute that to some of the widespread skepticism we're seeing right now in vaccines, or is there something bigger at play here?
It is largely that. You know, we have a lot of pandemic fatigue still, but our increasing disinformation about vaccines is swirling everywhere out there. And we need to make sure we're really meeting that head on and making sure that what we're talking about is we want everyone to be safe and healthy.
All right, so you talked about just how bad last year was. What kind of lessons can we take away from that flu season that can perhaps help reduce hospitalizations this time around? Anything outside of just making sure as many people as possible get the shot?
You know, those who died last year, and unfortunately the numbers are not confirmed, but it's somewhere between 40 to 100,000 adults died of the flu last year in the United States. This is a vaccine preventable illness. So we want to make sure that we're thinking both about our personal protection, but also, you know, those that we love and who we're with, and we don't want to spread the flu to them. But we also need to be very clear that with the CDC having issues with funding and the federal shutdown, we're also largely in the dark at the moment about numbers. And so we're very dependent on individual states or individual health departments telling us about the number of cases. We don't have the national surveillance we normally have to watch as well.
Yeah, I just walked right into my neighborhood CVS a couple weeks ago and got it right then and there. Didn't even have to wait. I mean, it's pretty accessible, is it not? Is it as easy as just finding the neighborhood CVS or Walgreens these days?
It is. And, the hours are good. And so depending on how your work hours are, there should be appointments available for you. And, a CVS, a Walgreens, Publix, all of them have the flu shot, and all of them have walk-ups, as well as you can book your appointment in advance.
It's a good time to get it too as we head into the holidays, but is it ever too late in the season to benefit from a flu shot? And how late does the season actually go?
So the peak season begins usually in February, and so we want most people to get their flu shots in October and November, and that is so that your body can mount its immune response and have it at its peak at the time when we see the majority of the flu cases. But it is not too late to get your flu shot. Now is the right time to do it. If you can do it before Thanksgiving, that would be really preferable, again, so you have the best coverage possible by the time we hit February.
As Ukraine braces for another harsh winter under fire, new Russian attacks are targeting power grids and pushing civilians deeper into crisis. But amid the destruction, faith and resilience endure. Here now is Pastor Marina Serdutenko, a spiritual leader of Odessa People's Church and head of the Good Samaritan Foundation. She's been in Atlanta this week, sharing firsthand accounts of the humanitarian struggle and hope that's still alive in Ukraine's front lines. Really appreciate you joining us here in the U.S. today. You've seen, no doubt, the pain and resilience of your people up close. Any moment from this war that stands out to you most?
The eyes of soldiers, the eyes of their wives, the eyes of the kids is the most deeply thing I ever saw. I'm a military frontline chaplain and serve on the front line exactly. And when you talk with a human who lost hope, with a person who lost childhood, with a kid who who are not a kid anymore, it's very hard for understanding.
You talk about looking into their eyes and how they've lost hope, lost childhood.
That's right.
What do you say to them to make sure they don't also lose their faith?
That they say for people who trust. They send for people who believe that we have a future. They send for me and my family personally, not in general, but personally. They have people who support them and that we are not alone in our fighting. Because for the person who are there to understand that he's not alone, it means a lot.
Marina,
and the main treasure we have, it's alive.
I'm sorry to cut you off there. I want to hear about the Good Samaritan Foundation. I know it's just been such a lifeline in Odessa and beyond. What are people most in need of right now, specifically as winter sets in? We know it's especially tough at that time.
Oh, unfortunately, the rockets, the shaheds in our region, they destroy our infrastructure. And it's about electricity, about water, about heating, just the regular basic things people need for winter, to survive. And I think this is the most hard thing to understand, that you can be 1 or 2 weeks with no electricity at all. But you need to continue to work. You need to continue to give education for the kids and to just try to survive. But it all the time medicine, it all the time these physical things, but hope and support is very important. Hope and support.
What made you decide to come to Atlanta? Why the city, and what do you hope folks here in Atlanta take away about what Ukrainians are living through right now?
We, in our Good Samaritan Charity Foundation, we work more than 33 years, and we try to be the one who keep the hands up for those who need it more than ever. And we have very good friends helping Ukraine, US, and they help us to serve people on the front line, villages, cities, and families there. And we came to say thank you for those who support us and who stand with us, because we continue to fight. We continue to stand. And I don't know if it's like the line that we crossed already, or we are close to the finishing of these horrible things, our reality around us, the war, I mean, but we know that we are not alone. And people who are here in Atlanta, they are much closer to us than our neighbors. And it means a lot. It's not about a distance. It's not about a finances. It's about a humanity. It's about a heart, from heart to heart. And surprise, we found this support here in your city, in your beautiful city, Atlanta.
It's Southern hospitality, and we're glad you felt the love that so many of us feel from our own neighbors at times. You know, when this war finally ends, what kind of country and what kind of people do you believe Ukraine will have become?
We believe we will still have freedom in everything. For us, it's very important to stay free and to have this freedom and to keep this faithfulness, to be in our country with our wishes, with our dreams, and to not be under something or someone, because we know we remember our 30 years, 40 years ago, the Soviet Union. We don't want to go back there. We don't, and we fight for this. If we fight for freedom and to have opportunity to do what we want to do on our land, we will be happy to do the same next years.
Marina Sedorchenko,
decades.
Thank you so much, and we're keeping you in our thoughts and prayers as you head back to that region.
2 seats on the Public Service Commission. This is the state body which, among other responsibilities, sets the rates for Georgia Power. Both seats up for grabs were in Republicans' hands going into the race, and Democrats flipped both PSC seats. In District 2, Democrat Alicia Johnson defeated long-term Republican incumbent Tim Echoes, and in District 3, it was Democrat Pete Hubbard topping Republican incumbent Fitz Johnson. Meanwhile, the race to the finish line came out with a big win for Andre Dickens. 4 years ago, he needed to force a runoff to become Atlanta's mayor. This time, it was seemingly much easier campaign. Dickens fended off 3 challengers to knock out the convincing win at the polls. Another 4 years he'll be doing it as the city's top job. Last night, Mayor Dickens told backers there's still much to tackle in his second term.
I hope you're feeling so excited, Atlanta, and I hope for what we can do for the future for the next 4 years. And I hope you don't think that I'm going to slow down in my second term. No, you know me. I work from can't see morning to can't see night. If you know anything about me, we work all day, we work all night, and we get the job done.
All right, another interesting high interest race in the metro area was the president of the Atlanta City Council. This seat opened up when the incumbent Doug Shipman decided he wasn't going to seek re-election, and it was current City Council member Marcy Collier Overstreet narrowly edging out her opponent by less than 2,800 votes. It's time to go inside the numbers. We have Raul Bawley. He's the politics reporter for WABE FM. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
All right. When you look at Tuesday nights as a whole, how much of what we saw really reflects the local issues versus the national mood?
You know, we talked to the Democratic Party chair of Georgia, Charlie Bailey, and he said that, you know, the state, these were nationalized, the issues around affordability. And again, as you mentioned, this was the Public Service Commission, which oversees power rates with Georgia Power. So making that argument that, you know, within the affordability, what people are paying for their bills, yeah, this was nationalized in a way with these races. But you're also hearing that on a number of local races. Housing affordability, that came up in the Sandy Springs race for mayor. It came up in the Atlanta mayor's race. So, you know, pocketbook issues, you know, that was very key to President Donald Trump winning. It looks like it was very key for a lot of the races yesterday.
Yeah, the turnout inside of Atlanta was stronger, much stronger than expected for an off-year race, right? What factors do you think drove people to the polls?
I don't think you can dismiss the fact that, you know, even though Andre Dickens didn't have any well-funded candidates against him. He still spent $1.5 million. We may end up finding out $2 million on this race. So he did put, money into this race. And there was, of course, as you mentioned, the Atlanta City Council president's race, other open seats like District 2 with Amir Faroqi stepping down to fill the election to fill Marcy Collier Overstreet's. And then you had other competitive races around the region: Sandy Springs mayor, Roswell mayor, South Fulton mayor. So you had people that were coming out and this was actually one of the concerns I've been hearing from Republicans for months. Many of the voters in cities, in municipal elections are Democrats. And so they had that edge with those statewide seats, even though they're held by Republicans, that they were facing that wave. Yeah,
you mentioned the pocketbook issues earlier, right? Do you think this election was more about those pocketbook issues or more about party identification?
You can't, dismiss party identification. There were some people trying to link, to President Donald Trump. There was, obviously conversation about the federal shutdown. But, back to the Sandy Springs mayor race, you had local issues coming up there. You had one of the candidates talking about Sandy Springs having its own school district and immigration rates and local role that came up. So you had other issues. There are obviously important local issues that come up over in, we've heard conversations on some of the Atlanta City races about what to do with MARTA. Because, you have the more MARTA tax. So you can't walk away from the local issues, but affordability, housing affordability, property taxes, those pocketbook issues are important. And what you're hearing from Democrats is that needs to be a focus for next year when you have so many big races on the ballot. Yeah. You've got John Ossoff's seat up for re-election, open governor seat, open lieutenant governor seat, and more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw flips on both sides for the Georgia Public Service Commission. That marked a significant shift. What was most likely the reason why Georgia's voters went that way?
Again, a couple of things that I've mentioned. First of all, you had strong Democratic turnout coming out of those municipal races. And then people... Look, for those of us who've covered the Public Service Commission for years, there's always that struggle that so many Georgians don't know what the Georgia Public Service Commission does in terms of setting rates for Georgia Power, overseeing Georgia Power, and then other things that they do in that space. And those races are almost always at the end of the ballot, but having that at the top of the ballot and having that focus on it probably helped a lot. And again, what's happening in Washington probably had effect. There were so many factors, but those were some of them.
Yeah, 30 seconds left real quick here. You've covered a lot of Georgia politics for years now. And how does this election night fit into the bigger political picture that we're seeing for this election cycle?
Some of the folks I was talking to at Andre Dickens' party, which, really people were talking about the PSC race. They're wondering if this is of a longer shift of moving toward Democratic politics. They were talking about what happened in the late 90s and early 2000s about Republicans winning small, what the word was, foundational races. Is this the beginning of that for the Democrats in Georgia? We'll see next year.
As the shutdown drags on, confusion over whether furloughed workers will actually get paid once this ends. Yesterday, it was reported that the Trump administration was signaling that back pay may not be automatic. It might not be an automatic move, a move federal unions are calling both unlawful and unfair. Joining us now is John Hatton. He's with the National Active and Retired Federal Employee Association. He's going to break down what really is at stake for hundreds of thousands of federal employees. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Talk to us about the latest news from the White House. How distressed are you from hearing this news?
It's certainly very disappointing. I don't know if I would say distressed. I think the law is extremely clear on this. This was passed during the last long shutdown. It says these employees shall be paid. Now, some unelected staffer at the Office of Management and Budget may have a slightly different view, and interpreting language that says it's subject to funding being enacted or appropriations being enacted means Congress needs to be explicit about it. But I think in a worst case scenario, you've seen, I think, bipartisan support for providing back pay to federal employees. In the worst case scenario, Congress needs to step in and be even more explicit than it already has. But I think the interpretation the administration officials have had on this takes saying it's subject to funding, which means, program needs to be reauthorized, which even under the continuing resolution, everything that was previously authorized is authorized. So what we're seeing is, it's very clear that people should be paid. If it's not clear now, Congress can make it even more clear, and I don't think it's even likely to be a serious subject of negotiation. So we're very hopeful that people will get back pay. At the same time, we're very disappointed that this position is even being taken by the administration. So
it's more like a policy dispute over a legal one, or what would you say?
I would say it's a legal interpretation dispute of language of the law. In which case there is a very clear language, if you read it, when people says furloughed employees shall be paid, that somehow the administration is not reading that as clearly as it is. And I think, you've seen Republican senators like Ron Johnson, who is a more conservative senator, say this on the Senate floor, that this law provides and requires back pay. So it's not I wouldn't say it's a partisan dispute, because if you go in, there's bipartisan support for providing back pay in Congress. It's a very fringe legal interpretation of what this law says.
If furlough workers are denied, let's say they are denied their automatic back pay, what legal or congressional remedies could your group or other federal unions come up with?
Well, Congress could be even more explicit that the appropriations that they're passing to reopen the government do include payment for this, so designating funds specifically for these payments. So that's one thing. I don't know if they're debating specific language because of how clear the language already is. So it's pass another law to restate the law that's already been said is a tough ask. But if payment isn't made, I would expect lawsuits. We wouldn't necessarily be involved in those, but I think plaintiffs would arise.
What's your message to federal workers out there that may be watching this as this unfolds, wondering if they'll ever be made whole?
I don't want people who are already in a distressed financial situation, missing potentially another paycheck, to worry more than they need to. I think this is a threat that won't likely come to fruition, but I can't say with 100% certainty, given what the administration is saying, that that's what's going to happen. But there are some hopeful signs that the shutdown will end. I think there's hopeful signs in Congress that there is support for providing back pay that is pretty broadly bipartisan. So that's good as well. And, there's 650,000 people across the nation that are furloughed. I don't know the exact number in Georgia, but there's 60,000 federal employees in Georgia, whether at the CDC or at Robins Air Force Base. So you have a lot of people that are relying on this that through no fault of their own might miss a paycheck because politicians in DC can't come to an agreement on what the government should do. And I think to hold this over their heads is deeply troubling.
Mayor Dickens joins me right now here on the set. First of all, congratulations to you, sir.
Good, thank you.
That was a great win. Speaking of that, 4 years ago it was a little different. You had to be in a runoff. How does it feel? How does this feel different?
Oh, this feels good. It feels great. 4 years ago, it was 13 people plus me, 14 of us, and I was blessed by God and good people to get me into this runoff. And so last night was a lot easier, winning by 85%. I'm just grateful that Atlanta chose me once again, re-electing me for 4 more years to continue the progress we've made.
What does that say to you about from 4 years ago to now, right? I mean, what the people are saying about you?
Yeah, people had doubts that, there was a large amount of people running last time, and so some folks didn't know if I had the capacity to win an election. They thought I could do the job, but they didn't know if I could win that election. And so I'm grateful that those people chose me last time, and then now 85% of the people said yes. This is basically saying that our progress has been, approved by the people. We're headed in the right direction. I always talk about Atlanta being a group project, that we do this work together, so City Hall, but it's also engaging the public, making sure they know what they can do, whether that's nonprofits, whether that's houses of worship, businesses. So we've been doing a lot together, and I'm really excited about 4 more years.
You mentioned Atlanta together. I remember you running on a promise, one Atlanta, right? Is that still the case, or are you evolving that a little bit?
Yeah, no, we're still one Atlanta, because you remember when I ran in 2021, there was a secession plan by Buckhead. People were talking about leaving the city. There was a Buckhead City movement. You don't hear that anymore. I won Buckhead handily this time, and it's because crime is down. down. We're answering the phones at City Hall. We're doing the work of the people. We're building housing. We're making sure that the garbage is picked up on time, and that any problem that arises, we jump right on it. We tackle it. I have a great team in place, and so the city's in good shape and is moving forward. We got a AAA credit rating. Atlanta's being listed as the best city in the nation to live by Money Magazine and Bloomberg and others. So we're on the right path.
Absolutely. You talked about affordable housing,
yeah.
Right? And so what's your first move in that direction?
Yeah, so we've been trying to build 20,000 units of affordable housing over 8 years. So from 2022 to 2030, that's been my goal. So far, we've built or have under construction 12,000 of those units already in my first 4 years. So we want to continue to build those units, and anything that's, to make sure that any housing that's not substantial, that is abandoned or vacant, et cetera, that we want to build on that and make it a quality living for people. But we want to make sure that we build housing for the whole spectrum, whether that's people with no income, like those that are experiencing homelessness, all the way up to our police and firefighters, school teachers, all the way up to anybody else. So we want to make sure that this city works for everyone, that people can live here, that work here, and that they can enjoy a quality of life in the city.
You talked about crime as well. What lessons did you learn from your first term that you're going to take into the second term?
Yeah, that you have to have a balanced approach to crime. You have to make sure that you do policing and non-policing activities to bring down crime. We have the best police department in the nation, the best police chief that I've chosen, Darren Shearbaum. He's been doing an amazing job. And our recruits are coming in, just like 250 or more right now in training. This is an outstanding police department that is attracting people. So you do the police work to make sure that we cut down on violence in that way, and to solve crimes, and to make sure that people don't want to commit crimes. But on the other side, it's the non-policing stuff, the things we've done with our youth. Youth crime is down 56% in the city of Atlanta. Our nightlife is safer. Our parks are safer. You think about when you bring down youth crime, you bring down crime across the whole city. So we had the third highest drop in crime in the nation, with a 44% reduction in homicide. So the city is safer. You can go to the parks, you can go to nightlife, you can go to Lenox, Phipps, all over the city, Pond City Market, Buckhead Village, and you can enjoy your shopping experience in peace and think and know that your city's got your back.
I love what you did with the youth.
Yeah.
Right. Is that still going to be a priority? Are you doing other things? Or is it evolving, or are you kind of staying down that same path?
You know I love the youth. Yeah. I declared it the year of the youth in Atlanta. You know, I'm an Atlanta native, APS baby that grew up in this city. This city helped raise me. So I want to continue the year of the youth. We did it in 1 year and it went so well that I called it the year of the youth every year. And we work well with the Atlanta Public Schools. We work with the nonprofits. We've been giving money to the nonprofits. Hey, if you're serving 100 kids, here's some money to help serve 125, 150. You've been serving 6 kids, teaching them chess. Well, here's some more money, teach 16. And we've been helping the nonprofits and the churches and others be able to do more of all the good work they've already been doing. And so we've been a platform for help. Our Department of Parks and Recreation, our At Promise Centers, our Midnight Basketball program is the largest and the best in the nation. So, and then we had 6,000 young people employed, making a minimum of $15 an hour. So these teens didn't jump in your car or break in your house. They had money to go do what they wanted to do because they were working this summer. And it's led to APS having the highest graduation rate ever in the city's history. And it's 3 percentage points higher than the state of Georgia. So yes, I'm all in on the youth, and we're going to keep getting better and better and better till we're the best place to raise a child in the nation.
Yeah, love it. We got 1 minute left. I want you to look at the camera there and tell people what they can expect for the next 4 years.
Well, first I want to tell you thank you. Thank you, Atlanta, for choosing me once again to be the mayor of Atlanta. This has been my dream since I was 16. And so for the next 4 years, we're going to work together on regional issues. So Atlanta's tackling its problems that we've already resolved around crime, making sure that our affordable housing is growing, making sure that we build and preserve all of these places for people to live, and helping our youth. Now we got to deal with our regional traffic and transit issues. We need to expand MARTA, improve MARTA, and homelessness. Homelessness is a regional challenge. When people are mentally challenged or drug addicted or find themselves poor in the suburbs and the rural, they come into the city of Atlanta, and we have to deal with that. And so we want everyone across the region to help, to help eliminate homelessness, to get people back to work, to get people safer environments to be in. And so we're here as a partner in the city of Atlanta to partner with the entire region on transit and on homelessness. We can do this together. And so for the next 4 years, you can count on me working all day, all night on behalf of the people of Atlanta.
Another 4 in the 404.
That's right, another 4 in the 404.
Appreciate you joining us.
All right, man.
Congratulations to you. Thank you so much. My final take. Researchers have believed that they've discovered how some 80-year-olds have memories of 50-year-olds. Cognitive decline is typically considered a normal part of aging, but research suggests that not everyone is susceptible to that. They're known as the super agers, people that in this particular category score at least 9 out of 15 on a delayed word recall test. The scientists have studied nearly 300 super agers for the past 25 years, and they found some traits in common. Get this, they're highly social, outgoing, having strong interpersonal relationships. Gen Zers may be in trouble. You got to talk to people? What? Scientists say the newly found information will open doors to new interventions aimed at preserving brain health and boost cognitive resilience. Yeah, so now you're going to have to force people to talk and engage with one another. How will these new age folks do that when everything is just right here on your phone? Oh boy, some may struggle. I'm just going to talk to you folks and let my brain just thrive, if you will. Right? Let's get back to that. Let's talk to one another, folks. I strongly believe that we need each other to survive. Let's get to it today. Encourage someone, folks. That's all we got for you today. Make it a great one and try to preserve your brain power. Be a super ager.